See, it's just, you see, I feel a certain sense of regret because for just a few weeks, you and I shared a decade. And that normally doesn't happen.
It was a beautiful thing.
So for just a few weeks, we were both in our 50s. And sadly, that's not the case anymore.
Marty, are you sharing a decade with Donald? You've got a while to go yet.
A few years ago, yet.
Okay. And you're looking forward to the celebrations, Donald?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, good stuff. All right, brilliant stuff. Thanks very much, Marty.
No
See you
problem,
tomorrow
Greg.
morning at
Thank you.
6:30. All right, it is the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio coming up. We've got loads. I'll tell you all about it. But first, let's get over to Donald and get a news update.
Thank you, Greg. Gavin Robinson has been ratified as the new DUP leader. He used his acceptance speech in Lisburn last night to confirm the party will not stand candidates in Fermanagh, South Tyrone and North Down in July's general election. It follows news that Pat Cullen, the head of the Royal College of Nursing, has stepped down from that role to run for Sinn Féin in Fermanagh, South Tyrone. The Letterkenny Chamber has released its local election manifesto for 2024, outlining what it describes as a strategic vision to enhance the socio-economic and environmental landscape of Letterkenny and the wider Northwest region. With more, here's Michaela Clark.
The manifesto highlights the pivotal role local authorities have played over the past 5 years, demonstrating the importance of collaboration and responsiveness. Describing the document as a catalyst for discussion and debate, Chamber President Claire McDonough stressed the need for candidates to understand pressing issues and commit themselves to seeking rapid, sustained change. She says Letterkenny Chamber encourages all potential councillors to do everything in their power to ensure that the deficits are addressed so that together we can deliver on our shared ambitions. The manifesto is structured around 3 main priorities: infrastructure for the future, vibrant towns and villages and green ambition. Chamber CEO Tony Forrester is calling on all local election candidates to embrace these priorities and work collaboratively with the business community to drive meaningful, timely and sustainable change.
TDs are seeking answers following further delays to the completion of the National Children's Hospital. The National Paediatric Hospital Development Board will today advise the Public Accounts Committee that the hospital won't meet its scheduled completion date at the end of October. Deputy Brian Stanley is chair of the Public Accounts Committee. He says it's not just the delay that they want to be briefed about.
The second thing we need to know is the cost. And this cost has moved upwards and upwards and upwards, starting from 0.6 of a billion. We now have 2.24 billion committed by government to this project in terms of completion and fit out. So the costs continue to rise. We need to know how far that's going to go.
New fledgling party Independent Ireland is the third most popular party among farmers. That's according to a new poll published this morning by the Irish Farmers Journal. The paper's political correspondent Pt2 says Fine Gael continues to be the top party among farmers. In terms of the European election in Midlands Northwest, Nina Carberry and Barry Cowan are neck and neck in front for Europe. They're followed by Maria Walsh and by Kieran Mullooly. He says support for Sinn Féin is plummeting.
So Independent Ireland are on 11%, putting them in third place, clearly behind Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael among farmers. And what's really interesting is that the independence vote has not shrunk. Independents are only down 1% from 23 to 22%. So there's a combined vote between Independent Ireland and the other independents of 33%, putting them level with Fine Gael and well clear of Fianna Fáil.
And the weather forecast, cloudy and breezy to start this morning with scattered showers brightening through the afternoon as showers die out with sunny spells breaking through. Top temperatures 12 to 15. Moderate northwest winds easing later. And that's radio news for now. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
You know what it's like when your mate sends you a pic of a dress she likes and you think, wait a minute, I would look so good in this. Well, Samsung's Galaxy S23 FE can help. Just draw a circle around the dress and circle to search with Google will help you find it. Sorry, Jen, it's not your colour. And send.
Incredible AI. Now on more Galaxy devices than ever. Buy a Galaxy S23 FE today at Samsung.com.
And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. It is 4 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 30th of May. How you all keeping out there? Thank you very much for joining us for another edition of the 9 till Noon Show, and it's another one packed to the rafters for you. Coming up very shortly, in fact, we'll be joined by Taoiseach Simon Harris, who has agreed to have a chat with us about various issues. So looking forward to that. And then after 10 o'clock, we also have our penultimate, yes, our second last local election debate, and we are focusing once again on Lifford, Stranorlar. There are 12 candidates contesting 6 seats, and we have 5 of those people looking for your votes in that area on the show today. Martin Scanlon's an independent. Dakota, Nick Mheanman is of Sinn Féin. Patrick McGowan of Fianna Fáil. Gary Doherty of Sinn Féin. An interesting panel there. So if you are in the east of the county, in the Finn Valley, in the Lifford, Stranorlar area, please get your questions and comments into us now. What is important to you? 086 60 25,000. What do you want to see sorted out? 086 60 25,000. Right. You can also email the show, comments at highlandradio.com. And if you want to watch the programme, of course, you can do so as you can every day. If you want to watch on your large screen TV or your smart TV at home, if you are at home, or your Fire Stick, we're on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. On our Facebook pages, Highland Hub, Highland News and Sport, we're on the X platform. And you can just go in and watch in your browser, click Watch Live. I've only got time for a brief look at the front of the papers, so it's pretty much just the headlines today. The Tyrconnell Tribune: farmers facing same sad end as fishermen. That was the view of one farmer on Monday night in the election debate for EU candidates hosted by the Irish Cattle and Sheep Farmers Association in Letterkenny. The Donegal News have a bit of a scoop there. They've got an interview with a young Letterkenny man who was on that flight, the Qatar Airways flight, that suffered a great deal of turbulence. So they have an interview with him in that paper today. The Derry News calls for tougher animal cruelty sentences. This after 2 men arrested as PSNI launch animal cruelty probe. On to the Nationals. Towns now identified for new migrant camps outside Dublin's the Irish Independent's top story. Migrants arriving in Dublin as we move to a number of new camps across the country as part of an effort to reduce pressure on the city. And the government has also has plans to open a new asylum processing centre outside of the capital. This, of course, to sort of take the attention, it seems, away from the capital there. The Irish Times talks of an operation which has concluded by now. Migrant tents set to be cleared from Grand Canal area. That happened this morning. It took 45 minutes. NGO-funded tents. NGOs often funded by the government, of course. And those tents just hauled up and chucked into the back of a lorry, effectively. Money down the drain. The Irish Daily Star, Keno attacker trial, Roy, but I'm no hard man. But I'm no hard man, and Bot is double T, playing on the headbutt situation. The Irish Farmers Journal, the findings of that poll are really quite remarkable. Independent shake up the farming vote is their headline. Fledgling political party Independent Ireland would harvest 11% of farmers' first preference votes if a general election was called next week. The vote for Fine Gael, pretty good in the Euro vote poll element of that. And also support for Charlie McConnell steadying off, I think is how they described it. All right, okay, as I say, we don't have time for a very extensive look through the newspapers this morning. Just to remind you, coming up after 10 o'clock, we have the local election debates again, focusing on Lifford, Stranorlar. Tomorrow's our last one, where we have candidates in the Buncrana area. And then next week, you're free of it if you want us to go back to the regular way of doing the show. And don't forget, we've got extensive coverage of the election. The vote's on Friday, and then on Saturday and Sunday, we will have wall-to-wall, where necessary, wall-to-wall coverage. So you'll know exactly who's elected, when they're elected, where they're elected, who lost out. There's going to be some big stories in that, because there's some, as I say, some interesting stories to be told yet about the local elections in this county, and you'll hear them all here on Highland Radio. You'll be able to watch the coverage as well from Letterkenny and all the count centres around the county. So very much looking forward to that. That's Saturday and Sunday week.
Carberry and Cowan, neck and neck in race for Europe. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Our exclusive survey reveals how farmers plan to vote to the European elections. Surge in support for independent Ireland as Sinn Féin vote collapses. Millions of tonnes of silage needed for biomethane plants. Find out why the national herd has fallen by over 100,000 cattle. Fury over delays to acres actions. And Mayo AD plant will need to source over 40,000 tonnes of silage.
All inside the Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
For the biggest names in perfume and aftershaves, visit McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Dolce & Gabbana, Paco Rabanne, Carolina Herrera, Calvin Klein, Jimmy Choo and Burberry, Ariana Grande, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Vera Wang and many more. From timeless classics to celebrity favourites, there's a perfume or aftershave for everyone at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie.
Vibrant Glasgow awaits. Fly easily from Donegal Airport with Loganair. Book your tickets now at loganair.co.uk and explore all that Glasgow has to offer. Enjoy convenient travel from Donegal to Glasgow with Loganair.
Still putting up with frustratingly slow broadband? Don't wait any longer. Imagine's high-speed broadband is being installed right now. Sign up today to get our hero package for just $49.99, saving you €180. Visit imagine.ie or free phone 1-800-938-407 to upgrade to faster broadband faster. Subject to location and availability. Minimum 18-month contract. Activation fees and annual price change of CPI plus 3% applies. Offer ends 30th of June. See imagine.ie for full terms and conditions.
Boost your brain function with Remind supplements this May. Visit Healthwise pharmacies for the innovative Life Meter test. In just 1 minute, measure your carotenoid levels from a simple fingertip scan. Understanding your diet can help you take charge of your brain health. Remind's blend of carotenoids and omega-3 fatty acids supports normal brain function. Make an appointment today at Ballyrain and Dunlow Healthwise pharmacies. Take the first step towards a healthier brain with Remind.
Be Perfect Cosmetics unveil their brand new Letterkenny mega store this Friday at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, with Love Island's Farmer Will, comedian Eric Roberts, Brenda McDowell and Jenny Woods, with DJ KAD on the decks. The first 100 customers receive a free goodie bag. The Be Perfect mega store Letterkenny launch party this Friday from 6 p.m.
You're very welcome back to the programme, and a very good morning to Taoiseach Simon Harris. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for having me.
How's life as Taoiseach? A good few weeks in now?
7 weeks in now. Certainly very busy, very intense, but doing my best to make progress on a number of key issues for people, and great honour to serve.
Yeah, and it's great to have you on the show. Thanks so much for accepting the invite. We'll talk about some local issues, of course, but just one that's making headlines this morning on a national level. We're learning today that the completion date for the new National Children's Hospital will be further delayed. There's concerns now by some that a child may not receive treatment in that facility before 2026. Your reaction to that news? Very regrettable, to say the least.
Absolutely, and extremely frustrating. And from a government point of view, I'll be very eager now to support the Minister for Health, the Department of Health and the HSE, and really applying maximum pressure here to get this job finished. This is for anybody from Donegal who's been up in Dublin recently, I mean, this is a hospital building when you drive by it, which is vastly complete. There's obviously some small elements, important elements left to do. We really need to see this open and open urgently, because while there has been, understandably, a debate around the cost of the hospital, what there's been very little focus on so far is the benefit it's going to have to sick children from all parts of Ireland. Children who might be in Crumlin today with the mum and dad sleeping on the floor last night because there aren't proper family rooms, there aren't proper ensuite rooms in many cases. And again, a lot of sick children who spend a significant period of time, many months in some cases, in this hospital. So this hospital is going to be transformational for children's healthcare in Ireland. We need to get it open as a matter of urgency. And I think we need to really scrutinise what we're being told now by the developer, scrutinise it both in terms of the words but also in terms of the contract, and apply maximum pressure to get this hospital handed over.
Do the board have enough teeth to do that, or is that something that happens above that layer of administration?
Both, but I think the government will be very eager to support the board in making sure that this project is completed urgently, and we look at all the levers at the disposal of the board and the government in relation to that. Well,
your government greenlit the budget, 2.24 billion, I think it was. Do you expect that to rise now?
It's always impossible to say the final cost of any project, because what happens is, a developer puts in a claim and says, it's going to cost this amount or that amount, and then often the board ends up actually rebutting, and often successfully rebutting that. So they've been very successful so far in actually pushing back on many of the extra claims submitted by the developer. So unfortunately for many projects of this scale, the actual very final cost isn't known until after the project is completed. But I can tell you this, we've significantly resourced the board to be able to make sure that any claims that we believe to be spurious or excessive are defended on behalf of the taxpayer.
You know, as you would know, we are in the mouth of the local and European elections, and that brings some of the big issues to the fore for many people, and some of the topics that have been dominating the debates, not least, of course, defective concrete. At the moment, we have a scheme that many see is not fit for purpose. Lots of families are seeing a significant shortfall in funding to rebuild their homes. And as you know, they are the complete innocent victims in all of this. I mean, there is a multi-year, multi-billion euro scheme there in place. Surely it should be expanded, Taoiseach, so that it is fair to, if not all, the vast majority of people trying to access it.
Well, look, I am very conscious, as you've said, as you've rightly said, that there is a very, very expansive and large scheme in place, as there should be, to help people who are living in the most horrific circumstances in terms of anxiety, stress, and financial concern in terms of their family home. There is also a number of structures that have been put in place in terms of a technical matters steering group, for example, in relation to the defective home scheme. So, look, I'm very eager that the department and the government continues to engage with the community and with representatives in Donegal to make sure that the scheme delivers for people. This is a massive scheme, though. I mean, we're talking about a scheme that is going to run to the billions, and there's already been many applications received into the scheme. I'm just reading some figures I have in front of me here. I think there's 1,644 applications have been received to the previous scheme, 436 to the enhanced scheme as well. So there's quite a number of applications that are already in. But it is, I mean, what I am told is that there's preliminary research results that do form part of the NSAI review, and it is too early to draw some conclusions in relation to that matter until the full review has been completed. So there's a lot going on in this space. We're eager to continue to work with people in Donegal and other counties to make sure that the scheme is delivering in the way we wanted it to.
Could you see it be expanded, though? Do you believe it to be expanded? If it's proven that the majority aren't getting 100% redress, would you like to see that reviewed? Because, I mean, I'm not sure if it trickles down to your office, Minister, but the impact this is having on people's well-being, you know, pensioners who are afraid that if they die mid-scheme, that the claim for rebuilding costs goes with them. You know, families who literally have nowhere else to go, and the house is unheatable, and the kids are in bedrooms that have got black mold all over the place. These aren't, I'm not cherry picking, you know, two or three really emotive stories, but I just hope, and I have a lot of respect for you, but I just, and so I know you'd want to hear this. I just hope that the reality of people's lived experience, the thousands of families, sort of gets to your ears, so that, you know what I mean? It's not, I'm not being anti-government or being dramatic. It's just, I kind of feel I have a responsibility to make sure that you hear how bad it is for people up here.
No, look, you're being very fair, Greg, and I wouldn't expect you to do anything less. And I want to assure you and your listeners, and I want to assure those families that I am very aware of those stories, very aware of the stress, the pressure, the anxiety. Came up with me recently at an Oireachtas committee. I've received correspondence from deputies in the region as well. And what I will say to people in Donegal today is that I will keep an active interest in this matter. I know how serious it is for people. I know how stressful it is. I also know how dangerous it can be. And I will continue to keep a very active interest liaising with the Minister for Housing. I think the key thing we must do as a government here is keep the lines of communication open to make sure that the scheme we've put in place delivers. A lot of money has gone into the scheme. I don't say that in a self-congratulatory way. It's important we do this for people. And therefore we do want the scheme to deliver for people. So we'll certainly keep active lines of communication open, and I'll personally continue to take an interest in the issue.
I appreciate that. And just a couple of points on this. One of the big problems is that those that are affected effectively have to become buyer as well. It's an awful pressure for people to try and project manage this all by themselves. Would that be something that you're interested in looking at?
Yeah, look, I think that I can understand the logic in that, in terms of, you know, as you rightly say, alleviating some of the stress and pressure from families, and also perhaps having a degree of expertise that can oversee the project. I certainly think there's a logic in that. I don't want to, because these families don't want to be given kind of flippant comments by government on radio. I am happy to talk to the Minister about that and explore that idea. Yeah. I mean, this is a scheme that is now open. As I say, we've received over 1,600 applications already, and over 350 applications to the enhanced scheme. I mean, what I want to see here is I want to see delivery for people here, people who've been living in the most horrific of circumstances and with the most horrific of circumstances. I want to see the money that we've set aside beginning to flow now, so that people can get some peace of mind. And if there are anomalies or issues that pop up along the way, as I hear the community saying, I'm eager that we engage in good faith and see if we can work through them.
Yeah, because we all have a responsibility to spend tax money responsibly. As you said, there's a huge amount of money going into this. So can you see the sense, Taoiseach, in rebuilding homes on top of foundations and rising walls that the science has already shown to be affected by these materials that damage the concrete? You know, surely, and you talked of the figures that are entering onto the scheme, they would be much greater, but I think a lot of people are holding back because Sinn Féin have promised a bells and whistles sort of approach to this, at least for the principal private residents. People are holding back because they can't see the logic of rebuilding on foundations that are already proven to be failing, and also the rising walls. It doesn't make any sense, and it just, if we don't get this right now, Taoiseach, we're going to be returning to this in 10 or 20 years, and it's going to cost the taxpayer even more.
Yeah, look, I mean, what I would say is this. I mean, and I'm not going to play politics with this in terms of what other parties say. I'm sure everybody approaches this in good faith. But what I would say is this. I mean, we now have an implementation steering group in place. It's put in place for this very reason, to tease through and work through issues. I understand it's already met several times in the last few months to keep both the regulations and the guidelines under review. I think it last met on the 26th of April as well, and on that occasion they were discussing issues around the mortgageability, if that's the word, of the remediated homes as well. And I know they're looking very shortly to issue updated guidance to homeowners to access funding for certain works at an earlier stage, and that guidance is going to issue to the local authority shortly. That was something that had also been raised by families in Donegal, this idea of being able to access the funding at an earlier stage, because there was a kind of sequencing problem that I think was making it challenging for some people as well. So look, what I'm saying here is our work here isn't done. I get that. We have a very ambitious scheme in place. We've over 1,600 applications plus an extra 350 on top of that. We've billions set aside. We have an interagency steering group to look at implementation, and the very purpose of that is to keep all issues under review. And the issues that I've heard from you this morning and the issues that I've heard from representatives in Donegal are ones that I'll feed back into that process now. And I'm happy to keep in touch with you and your listeners on this too.
Yeah, because there's silly little anomalies in this. So say, for instance, my house was in a very bad condition and there was a wedding coming up or a confirmation or something like that there, or I just couldn't look at the cracks anymore. If I were to fill those cracks and paint the wall to try and make the house more bearable, I couldn't get on the scheme, because you get on the scheme by a visual survey. So the engineer would come out and look at it, see that the cracks aren't visible, even though they might be present but not visible, and that means I couldn't actually get on the scheme. So we can't even dolly up our houses a little bit in the interim. You know what I mean? That's not common sense, Taoiseach. I'm sure you would agree. Well, I can't put words in your mouth, but it's those little things that don't make any sense.
Yeah, look, we have to tease through this, because we have to remember at the end of the day, there's human beings in here, there's families involved here, and there's also, as you rightly say, family occasions and day-to-day family life that people are trying to get on with for their kids and their parents and their grandparents and others too. So I am proud, quite frankly, that we've put a scheme in place. I'm proud that we've put a scheme in place that is quite extensive, that there's a lot of consultation that did take place with homeowner action groups and others, but also with the councils, because they have a big role to play in this in terms of the delivery. It is now open. The money is now available. Applications are being received. People are applying. I mean, I do say that again, not to be argumentative, but just to give a bit of context. There are people, well over 1,000 people, closer to 2,000 people now actually who've applied.
I mean, we do.
So,
I do get that. But just one final
one.
So
there are people getting practical help today. Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
One final one on this. Childcare facing a crisis here. You know, importance of childcare right across the country. The likes of Letterkenny Community Childcare, childcare services in Raphoe and Ardra. These are towns around the county. Several other facilities are affected by defective concrete. In fact, it's estimated, Taoiseach, 40% of childcare facilities in Donegal are affected by defective concrete, and they're going to be protesting next Friday because they say the government is offering no support to rebuild these facilities. I'm sure you don't want to stand over that, Taoiseach, do you? 40% of childcare facilities affected by defective concrete in this county, they estimate.
Well, what I can certainly say to the childcare providers in Donegal is, I mean, we're investing a very, very significant amount in capital towards to expand, refurbish childcare facilities, and let's see if we can find a way to help these childcare facilities, even if it's outside of the context of the current scheme, if there are other ways we can help and support them. So I'm very happy if that delegation wants to write to me. I'm very happy to engage with both the Department of Housing and the Department of Children and see if we can make progress on that, because what we certainly want is an expansion of childcare places, not a reduction. We certainly don't want our childcare facilities that aren't safe in terms of defective concrete either. So I'm offering this morning on Highland, if people wish to send me correspondence on that I'll personally engage with the Department of Children and the Department of Housing on behalf of that group.
Just generally on services, as you'd be aware, Donegal County has become the home to the second highest amount of Ukrainian refugees in the state. There's 2,000 IPAS applicants here, and thankfully for the most part are integrating well and have been well received. But as you can imagine, this puts great pressure on our services, schools, particularly GPs, dentists and all that type of stuff. I recall earlier this year your predecessor Leo Varadkar said he was putting together a special package to help such areas that are under pressure. Do you know if anything came from that, or what can your government do to sort of try and ease the pressures? Because, an awful lot of the bad feeling doesn't come from where people are from or how many are coming here, if the truth be told. It's actually really, when it comes down to a competition for basic things like getting a GP's appointment or getting a bus. You know what I mean? It's not based really on any
I'm really glad you said this
stuff.
because
it's just
no.
Based
I'm really glad you said this because
go ahead, Simon. Go ahead.
Well, no. So I want to answer the question directly about resources now, but I just want to say this because I'm really glad you said this, because there's an effort by a small number of people in Ireland to be quite divisive on this, to be quite extreme on this. That's not my experience, though, of most people across the country. So when I meet people in most parts of this country, there's a very, very, very significant difference between being an extreme far right kind of racist individual and being a decent person in County Donegal just wanting to know, hang on a second, what does a growing population mean for my local school, which is at capacity, or for GP services? So I'm very interested in talking about the second while condemning the first, if you get me. Now we are finalising, you're right, Leo did make commitments in that space, and we are finalising what a new round of supports for communities look like. I now chair a cabinet committee on migration. If I'm to be very honest with listeners in Donegal, I think up until now the approach to migration policy has been far too siloed. I've said before, and I say it again, if passing the parcel was an Olympic sport, we were at risk of getting a gold medal here in terms of one agency saying that's a matter for another agency. I have a unique role as Taoiseach in terms of an ability to bring agencies together and to start looking at this in the round and to say this is not just about an emergency situation anymore. It's more about actually what does a sustainable model of migration look like. On Ukraine specifically, I should say the number of people from Ukraine has dramatically reduced. And as a result of that, and I also want to say, by the way, so many Ukrainian people have integrated well into our communities and are playing a very important role in local businesses, local shops, kids in our schools. But the number of Ukrainians has significantly reduced. What that will mean is over the summer months, about 68 contracts for accommodation that has been used for Ukraine will not be renewed. I don't know if any of them are in Donegal, truthfully, off the top of my head. But what it does mean is that maybe hotels or facilities that had been taken out of community use for Ukrainian accommodation will start to now be put back into community use. And I think that's an important sign for people to see in terms of moving away from this emergency response to a more sustainable model.
Our local hospital, 80 GPs, 11 consultants from Donegal, kind of unprecedented last year, wrote to the Minister for Health, Stephen Donnelly, expressing their concerns about the deepening crisis there. They effectively said there could be a services collapse. Our hospital here has a 38% higher attendance rate than the national average for a Model 3 hospital. A higher admission rate than average also. So as you can imagine, this puts great pressure on the services, the staff, the ED. It's funded as a Model 3 hospital, Taoiseach, but it's really a Model 3.5, a phrase we've coined up here, or even a Model 4 in terms of its workload. Would you support its status being reviewed? I know there's been a positive announcement in terms of capacity over the last 24 hours, but as you would know, and I'm not going to go through them with you now, we hear, obviously we don't hear all the good stories because you don't hear that, and people understand that, right? And we're not focusing on the negative stuff, but the good stuff, that's fine, and we celebrate that too. But we do have to focus where there is gaps on this show. Would you sort of urge Minister Stephen Donnelly, who's acutely aware of the situation, just to have another look at Letterkenny University Hospital and the unique challenges it faces, and perhaps maybe look at ways to better resource it?
Yeah, and look, and I know that's something the Minister is aware of, because I was aware of it when I was in health. I know he's aware of it too, that there are particular geographic and population and demographic issues for the Northwest, and particularly for Donegal in the Northwest. Your cancer services is an example of that, where actually there's a cross-border dimension with Altnagelvin. So I think it is timely to look at how we resource, support and view Letterkenny Hospital, and how indeed it fits into the Northwest region, including on that all-island basis, because I do think there's a huge capacity there to look at how much more can be done between Derry and Donegal. I believe it in health, I believe it in education. There's also, I mean, as you rightly said, we are increasing bed capacity at Letterkenny University Hospital. We've seen an extra 50 beds delivered in the hospital between 2021 and this year, with another 72 planned. So that'll be an extra 122 additional beds. There is a real issue, I've got to be honest about this, there's a real issue with in certain therapy places, like a lot of people accessing health services or relying on health services now will talk about a shortage of therapy posts, health and social care professionals. One of the things we're very eager to do is significantly ramp up the number of people we're training to work in the health service as well. We're again doing that on an all-island basis with medicine now, with nursing as well, and looking at opportunities to really harness the potential of ATU Donegal to actually train and place more people in Letterkenny Hospital too. So there is a lot of, I'm acutely aware of the situation. I can point to good stats, as you say, but rightly we should focus on the areas in which we do need to do better.
Yeah, and I'm over time, but very quickly, just on this, pardon my ignorance, how, if there's a recruitment embargo, how do we provide extra beds? Because we could fill that hospital with 1 million beds, right? But it's like 4 to 5 staff per bed. So how, just explain to me, and pardon my ignorance, how we deliver beds in Letterkenny while there's an embargo on recruiting staff.
Because I think the embargo is often misrepresented, quite frankly. What the embargo, insofar as it is one, basically says is the HSE can hire a certain number but no more. But what that does allow the HSE this year is to hire 2,200 more staff. There will be hundreds more nurses, many more doctors, speech and language therapists, OTs and the likes working in the health service at the end of this year compared to the end of last year. They've been given money to hire 2,200 extra staff into the Irish Health Service this year. Sometimes the way it's portrayed, you'd actually think they're not allowed to hire anyone, or the numbers are reducing. There'll be 2,200 more staff for the health service this year, and actually 3,000 when you include disability services.
Yeah, and listen, you don't need any advice from me, but you know, an awful lot of this stuff is not communicated to us. Do you know what I mean? Even in the area of immigration or you know, the embargo. If we got more information on that, we could disseminate that, or people, you know, because often there's nothing there to counter, and we always like to put both sides there. But anyway, listen, Taoiseach Simon Harris, thank you very much for your time. Have a good day. I really do appreciate it.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, thank you very much for that. 08660 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Transform your home with the most extensive furniture collection in the Northwest at Féin Company in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny. Choose from our stunning collections for bedroom, dining room and living room. Also home, office and outdoor garden furniture. We work with commercial and residential clients, and you can trust that when you purchase from Féin, you're investing in durability, style and functionality. Féin Company. Call into our Letterkenny or Ballybuffet stores today.
These days, we're all looking for healthy, tasty family meals and lots of variety. The good news is that our fishermen continue to bring us the best of the catch, like fresh Irish hake and haddock. There are so many ways to enjoy them. Try delicious Thai curry with hake or mouth-watering Cajun seasoned haddock. For lots of tasty recipes and different meal ideas, visit boardbeer.ie and look out for Irish hake and haddock next time you're shopping. Fresh ideas, great meals.
Easy Living Furniture's sizzling summer sale ends this Sunday. Don't miss out as absolutely everything's reduced across sofa, dining, bedroom, mattress and accessories. Summer sale ends Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, or online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, Easy Living has it all. Easy Living Furniture, luxury furnishings, affordable luxury.
Don't miss the Tumbling Paddies at the Abbey Hotel, Donegaltown, Bank Holiday Sunday, 2nd of June. Doors open at 9 with the Tumbling Paddies on stage at 10:30. Secure your ticket now at Eventbrite for an unforgettable night with one of the hottest bands around. That's this Sunday, 2nd of June, the Tumbling Paddies live at the Abbey Hotel, Donegaltown.
At Home Store and More this bank holiday weekend, there's 25% off all solar lights. That's right, for 5 days only, there's 25% off all solar lights. This offer ends Monday, June 3rd. Light up your garden this bank holiday weekend with our extensive range of solar lights, string lights, post lights, lanterns and much more, all 25% off. Offer ends midnight Monday, June 3rd. Drop by your local Home Store and More this bank holiday weekend or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Right, so we learned today that Letterkenny Community Childcare have decided to take strike action on Friday the 7th of June. That's local and European election polling day. The group's building was tested in 2019 and was confirmed it had defective concrete blocks. Unfortunately, there are many buildings around the county that offer childcare facilities and facilities for children in the same boat. Geraldine Burks, manager of the Letterkenny Community Childcare. Good morning to you, Geraldine.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And I'm not sure if you heard our last contribution. We were chatting to the Taoiseach, who has committed to take a personal interest in this issue and has invited you or representatives of the childcare community to write directly to him. And he will engage with you and raise your concerns with the relevant departments to see if they can find a way outside of the scheme to support the rebuilding of these buildings. So he said that to us just in the last 10 minutes.
Well, that's great to hear, but I wrote to the previous Taoiseach and I got a response, and I also wrote to Minister O'Gorman, the Minister of Children, and I got a response from him, but his response was a sustainability fund. We are sustainable. We need capital funding, and we are one of many groups, as I said in my email, 24 groups have identified both community and private, and I think government has a responsibility to cover both sections of the sector.
What is the current state of your facilities, Geraldine?
We have cracking internally and externally. We have grave concerns about one of our internal walls. It's a load-bearing wall, which is holding up our roof. And if it's a very windy or stormy day, the roof actually moves. The crack you can put your fingers into. It's very distressing to work in that. I'm not taking away from people living with mica. It's absolutely horrendous. But you're coming in every day, you're doing a safety check, you're checking all around the building. It's cracking inside as outside, so we check the outside. We had one occasion where it froze, and when the frost melted, a corner of the building fell off. So therefore we couldn't take the children outside, and it's always about health and safety for the children. We are being reviewed again by a structural engineer in September, and we could find ourselves in the same situation as Rafo, that he would say, no, I'm sorry, the building's unsafe.
And this obviously is devastating on many levels, but not least in terms of the very important role of childcare in the broader society and the economy in terms of people working and all that type of stuff. I mean, what's the plan B at this point?
That's correct. We were an essential service during the COVID. We are located very, very close to major employers in Letterkenny. And if we go, there's nowhere for children to go. There is no plan B. We have a deposit on a site behind Educate Together. We have planning application in at the moment. We're waiting on that. But that has all been self-funded, fundraising. But the actual building cost, when the architect drew up the plans, is 2.8 million. That's before we get the building out, Craig.
And you've no collateral on the site. You've no collateral on the site you're on at the moment because that building's worthless.
Absolutely. And it's a very small site. Our plan is, if we get the funding to move, we will expand. We have 164 babies on our waiting list.
Wow.
We have over 400 children on other lists. That's preventing parents going back to work. They can't get their child into childcare, so they can work. It's a whole circle. And
whilst,
it's a
of
real
course,
issue.
Sorry, of course it is, and that's why I took the opportunity to raise it with the Taoiseach when I had. What he does after that remains to be seen. And of course, we are talking about Letterkenny Community Childcare. You've already mentioned Rafo. There's issues in Ardra. In fact, it's estimated in your email 40% of childcare facilities are affected by defective concrete. I mean, if that isn't a crisis in the sector, I don't know what is.
It's a crisis in the sector and it's a crisis in Donegal, and that information came from Early Childhood Ireland. So we can stand over that information because we're all registered with that organisation. So within 3 years, if 40% of the childcare disappears in Donegal, where does that leave families? And a lot of families, it's not just about people going into employment, it's supporting families. We work very closely with TUSLA in that regard. There's also the aspect that children really need to go to their free preschool, so that when they go to school, it's not such a traumatic event. It's very, very important for young children to get out and socialise and mix and learn self-help skills. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
And we lead them on the path to their next step. So I don't know what the Taoiseach has planned. I really hope that he is planning to invest in Donegal. Yet again, we feel a bit like the forgotten county. And I also I really want to acknowledge we're a business, so we don't qualify for the scheme apart from childcare. No businesses qualify. So if you have a building with a mortgage on it and it's crumbling and your employees, you're left in a terrible position as well.
Very few businesses could sustain that business model. And I'll tell you, really, ironically, the importance of the service means that when you can actually, put down tools, so to speak, and have a public demonstration, are few and far between, because obviously then, it can cause disruption to those that use the services. But there is a strike scheduled for this coming Friday. No coincidence that it coincides with polling day in the local and European elections, I'm sure.
Absolutely not. I have had TDs, I have had local councillors from every party in this building. I've had a European delegation in the building, and they've all been horrified. And oh yes, we'll do what we can. And I've had nothing. So, as you say, Greg, this is her 5th year of trying. So we just feel we have to really highlight this issue, not just for ourselves, for all the other services that have this, and for the community in Donegal, because if we lose our childcare, it has a whole economic impact on the county as well.
No, nightmare. The group is striking Friday the 7th of June between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. That's at the Letterkenny Public Services Centre. It's to highlight what they say is the lack of action from government, and that's demonstrable. And if you're not familiar with that building, if you're not from outside, if you're not from Letterkenny, it is the one there just off the Polestar roundabout with the grass roof. And you'll be striking there between 12 and 2. As much support, I'm sure, Geraldine, as is available, you're welcome.
Yes, everybody is welcome. All our past pupils, Greg. We're 41 years in existence, and we started with volunteers. We still have a voluntary board. We're very much involved in the community, and we would love community support. Lots of the other facilities and childcare services are joining us on the day, and we would love parents, grandparents, children, all to be there to say this matters. This really matters to Letterkenny and to Donegal.
And there's a proper time frame on this, because it is possible and probably likely that when the health and safety review takes place in September, that building will be condemned. I think that's what your gut's telling you, Geraldine.
It's what my fear is. Yeah. And it's my fear because, as you said, our service users, it was very reluctantly we're closing because we know people need the service, but we had to highlight this would be the impact. You wouldn't have this every day on a daily basis. So we're fighting for, we also employ 28 people, Craig. So that's, our employees could lose their job as well. And they are like everybody else. They have rent, they have mortgage, they have commitments in their lives.
Okay, well, hopefully this Taoiseach will take on board your concerns as he committed to do so, and find some way to assist you before time runs out. For now, Geraldine Burke, Manager of Letterkenny Community Childcare, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Greg. Really appreciate the chance to get on and talk. Thank you.
No,
Take
it's
care.
Very, very important. We do appreciate you making yourself available. All right, just to remind you, we are at our penultimate local election roundtable debate today after 10. Lifford, Stranorlar, the Finn Valley, the east of the county. 12 candidates contesting 6 seats, and we've got a good lineup for you today. Martin Scanlon, he's an independent. Dakota, Nick Mheanman from Sinn Féin is also looking for your votes, as is Martin Harley of Fine Gael, Patrick McGowan of Fianna, Gary Doherty of Sinn Féin. So if you have a concern or a question for the candidates that affects the Stranorlar area, the Lifford area and surrounds, you know the area that electoral area covers, then please get in touch with us now. 086 60 25,000. Just to remind you, if it suits you, and the majority of it doesn't, some of you like to watch what's going on, so you can go onto our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland. We'll be live there. We're on the X platform, Highland Radio Donegal, and also on Facebook, Highland Hub, Highland News and Sport. So that's the second from last local election debate, Lifford, Stranorlar, coming up after 10. Some of your comments coming in so far this morning. Simon is talking for Ireland, but we've heard it before and before and before. Talk is cheap, they say. Hi Greg, when applying to the MICA scheme, or the defective concrete block scheme, how long does it take council to respond to applications? Now, that's information we probably have locally, so if someone could let me know, I'll pass it on to that listener. Please ask the Taoiseach what he'll do about us having no endocrinologist for adults with type 1 diabetes and LUH. Sorry, I didn't get to that. Obviously, his remit is huge. Sort of asking very specific questions on issues. I'm not sure what it would achieve, but listen, we can put on that request to the Taoiseach's office. We can send an email with some follow-up stuff. Can you ask the Taoiseach about the CDNT shambles in Donegal, where they cannot seem to get staff? I'm a parent of a child with needs, and I'm expected to be a speech and language therapist, OT and physiotherapist, as well as be a parent to my other child and keep my job too. And my child and other children in Donegal are suffering because of a lack of staff. And he talked about trying to increase staffing levels in those areas. It is a major, major crisis. And what happens too is there's another couple of tiers then emerge, because there are some people that perhaps can have the money or scrape the money together to go private in some areas of that, and then there's others that simply don't. I live in a semi-detached defective concrete block house. The house detached has been approved for demolition. My house, however, has come back as option 3, just for remediation of outer and inner walls, not down to foundations. The concern for me is the deterioration of my property once the other property is demolished. And I think we heard from Martin McDermott of similar situations to that. There is an appeals mechanism, and I think you might be encouraged to sort of appeal that and make the argument of the lack of sense it makes. We have defective blocks in our house. Has any research been done into quarries to see if the deteriorous materials still exist? There will always be these types of blocks coming from the same quarries as before. Right, back with the weather.
Hi guys, David James here, and we're asking you to push back the kitchen table, dust off your dancing shoes, and join us for our Jive for June campaign, all in aid of the Donegal Hospice. Tune in to the Jive Time show from 2:30 p.m. for your daily Jive. Video your Jive and send it to the Donegal Hospice at gmail.com, and they will post it on their socials, and we will also be posting your Jives on our social media channels too. To register and donate, log on to donegalhospice.ie or contact Isabel on 9125656 or 087 238 9607 for a sponsorship form.
House Proud. House Proud Super Summer Sale is now on. There's over £5 million of warehouse stock ready for immediate delivery, with an extra 15% off everything in store and online. We won't be beaten on price. Shop in store today at our flagship store, Abercorn Square, Strabane, or House Proud Omagh.
Carberry and Cowan, neck and neck in race for Europe. For more in your Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Our exclusive survey reveals how farmers plan to vote to the European elections. Surge in support for independent Ireland as Sinn Féin vote collapses. Millions of tonnes of silage needed for biomethane plants. Find out why the national herd has fallen by over 100,000 cattle. Fury over delays to acres actions. And Mayo AD plant will need to source over 40,000 tonnes of silage.
All inside the Irish Farmers Journal, on sale now.
Get set for a June bank holiday barbecue with Homeland Letterkenny at our garden Super Saturday this Saturday 1st. Enjoy exclusive offers in store including 2-burner gas barbecue only €179, 6-seater picnic bench now only €169. Buy 2 get 1 free on trees, hedging and shrubs. For more, see homeland.ie.
If you need an eye test, look no further than Louis Walsh Opticians. Letterkenny's longest established opticians are delighted to welcome patients new and old to their state-of-the-art practice in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. Their latest technology includes a 3D OCT retinal camera which assesses the health of your eyes in minutes. Private, medical card and PRSI patients welcome. Call 91 21000 to arrange your eye test.
Louis Walsh Opticians, Letterkenny. Your vision, our focus.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhinney's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhinney's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhinney's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
Okay, cloudy and breezy to start this morning with scattered showers, though it will brighten up through the afternoon as the showers die out. Sunny spells will break through. And temperatures will be 12 to 15 degrees and getting warmer as we head towards the weekend. Okay, we're going to talk about carers and caring now. Deborah Wilson's principal social worker for Five Rivers Fostering in the Northwest and is with us. Good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning, Geraldine. Geraldine, can you hear me?
Greg, it is Deborah you're speaking to.
Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon. You're very good. My mistake there, Deborah. We do have Frank with us as well. Frank is a foster carer. Good morning, Frank.
Greg, how's it going?
Good. Sorry about that, Deborah. I'll come to you first. Talk to us about the need for more foster carers to come forward across the Northwest, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Greg, firstly, let me start by thanking you for giving us the opportunity to come on and speaking about the very important topic of fostering. We talk about need for fostering. Look, there is a national crisis within foster care currently as we speak. And unfortunately, the demand for children coming into care and having the appropriate foster placements for them is not appropriate to meet the demand. So look, we are currently looking to recruit foster carers within the Northwest and particularly within the Donegal area.
And what does becoming a foster carer mean? I suppose in terms of it's probably quite obvious what's what is needed of them, but also maybe the supports for because people might go, well, what would I do if something came up or what have you? So maybe you can talk to that if you don't mind.
Absolutely, Greg. Fostering is a really, really important function in society. And it is one that is absolutely necessary for a lot of vulnerable young people. As we're all aware, there is sometimes a need for children to come into the care of the state due to a number of reasons. For sometimes families find themselves in a position where they can no longer care for their children for a particular period of time, and that could be due to sickness or illness of the parent. It could be due to addiction issues. It could be due to unfortunately some forms of abuse as well. And therefore, the demand for foster placements has never been higher in Ireland. And what Five Rivers do is that we recruit, support and train our foster carers to provide appropriate care to children that are very vulnerable and need placements. That support really looks like something like from the onset of a person, an applicant wanting to inquire about fostering, we take the person through that journey to where they're approved foster carers and have placements, and that support and guidance really carries through the journey of fostering.
And would it be fair to say that who we're talking to now is those that sort of go, okay, maybe, and if there even is a maybe there, contact the likes of yourselves and have that conversation and tease it out. Maybe that maybe becomes a no, or maybe that maybe becomes a yes.
Absolutely, do you know, and look, if anybody has, if this triggers even some sort of interest in terms of, fostering and wanting to find out a little bit more, we'd be more than happy to talk to anyone, and I'll give you out the numbers and contact details of that in a moment. But what I would like to say, and just to highlight that fostering, foster carers come from all walks of life, from married couples with families, married couples who don't have children themselves, single carers, people from different backgrounds, gay couples, same-sex couples. We have a broad range of foster carers who provide excellent support and care to children in foster care.
Okay, and this is a subject we cover at least a couple of times a year, but unfortunately today our time's a little bit shorter with everything that's going on. So Frank, I think it's really important to sort of hear the experience of a family and what fostering is to you. You've 5 adult children, your wife and yourself share. Originally from Glasgow, you moved from Donegal. Why did you think you had a role in offering this type of care for young people?
I always find that quite a hard question to answer, Greg, to be honest. It's a feeling more than anything else. You feel as if you want to do it. You discuss it with your family, your children. See if they feel the same way, they feel we've got something to offer. And then you make the move and you contact somebody like Five Rivers and you take it from there, and then you discuss it more and then you take the next step. But it's quite difficult to kind of pinpoint what it is, but it's a feeling.
Yeah, and you just have to chase that and follow through with it, I presume. 50 children have been placed with you as a couple since you were approved as carers. That's a huge amount.
Yeah, well, we to really understand, when we started off, we'd done emergency placement.
Yeah.
So you could be having, a different kid come to you every other day. That's why the number's so high. But that's very rewarding as well. You're helping a kid who's, for some reason, something's broke down within their home environment, and you're giving them a safe place. That's a brilliant thing to do. And we also done another thing called respite, where other foster carers, so as they can get a break, their kids would come and stay with us, and that was like a wee holiday for them. We'd been up in Donegal. It was great, so that's why the number's so high.
And of course, at this point, you're very accustomed to it. But how important was the help and support in the early stages, and particularly with the short-term fostering, Frank?
Oh, it's crucial in all aspects of fostering, and we're very fortunate with Five Rivers. We're always a phone call away, every day, 365 days a year, 24 hours, all the time. So any questions you have, you can phone. We've always felt really supported. So any situation that arises, you're not alone. You always get help.
Yep, and of course it's not for everyone, but it could be for someone listening. You would encourage them, would you, to at least begin the conversation and see if it works for them?
100%. It definitely isn't for everyone, but I think a lot of people would be surprised that it is for them. And if they take that first step, they realise it.
Okay, I think all we have time for is to finish up with the contact details and how people can get more information.
Absolutely. And Greg, we have the Donegal office, which recently opened there in March of this year. And we have office spaces throughout the country, but the contact details for the Donegal office is 07493 86006. Equally, you can contact our assessing social worker called Harold Barber, and his contact details is 086 144 9296.
Now, people will be very familiar with our numbers and our contact details, so what we'll do is we'll hold them here, and if anyone listening and they'll know our number off the top of the head wants those numbers, they can give us a call, and we're more than happy to pass them on. Both of you, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks very much,
all right.
Craig.
Take care. Have a lovely day. Okay, we're going to take a break for the news and obituary notices, then we return with our second last local election debate.
Irwin Expert Electrical, your trusted destination for all things home appliances, electrical and entertainment in the Northwest. With over 50 years of leading the way, we pride ourselves on offering a diverse range of products under one roof. From top brands like LG, Samsung, Cooker, Bosch, Apple and more, take advantage of our free layaway service where you can store your new items until you're ready for them. Perfect for renovations and new build projects. Visit Irwin Expert Electrical today in Letterkenny or Buncrana.
FBD doesn't stand for frighteningly rad dentists, ferociously beating drums, or feline business directors. FBD stands for support. We support business owners in Ireland with tailor-made services from personally assigned advisors. Visit your local branch to talk to your FBD insurance team. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
If you're running for election, let BizPrint take care of all your printing needs. BizPrint's experience can help you towards a successful campaign. Be election ready by calling BizPrint the printers on 9177 955.
Virgin Media is rolling out 2 gig full fibre broadband to more and more homes across Ireland. Big homes, little homes, haunted houses, big gaffs in the country, non-bouncy castles. Number 16, Oxbow Lake Houses. The house with all the cats. To get Ireland's best broadband, check your address at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. Subject to availability. Ireland's best broadband. See virginmedia.ie/proof.
Have I got news for you? The Harvey's Point Cabaret is back. Every Wednesday in September and October, Eamon has gathered a galaxy of stars to captivate and entertain. A scrumptious dinner, fabulous entertainment, or a 2-night accommodation package. Harvey's Point Cabaret 074 972 2208 for an immediate reservation or harveyspoint.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. Letterkenny Community Childcare is to lead a picket outside the Donegal County Council offices in Letterkenny tomorrow week, June 7th, as people are voting in the European and local elections. It's to highlight the fact that they and 22 other services from all over the county are affected by defective concrete blocks. LCC manager Geraldine Burke says this means 40% of childcare facilities in Donegal may have to close in the coming years due to buildings being unfit for purpose, with no government support and no provision in the redress scheme to help them. Well, on today's 9 till noon show, Taoiseach Simon Harris invited the groups to make direct contact with him.
Let's see if we can find a way to help these childcare facilities, even if it's outside of the context of the current scheme. If there are other ways we can help and support them, I'm very happy to engage with both the Department of Housing and the Department of Children and see if we can make progress on that, because what we certainly want is an expansion of childcare places, not a reduction. We certainly don't want our childcare facilities that aren't safe in terms of defective concrete either. I'm offering this morning on Highland, if people wish to send me correspondence on that I'll personally engage with the Department of Children and the Department of Housing on behalf of that group.
Later in the show, Geraldine Burke welcomed the Taoiseach's offer, but said when she wrote to the previous Taoiseach and to the Children's Minister, there were no solutions offered.
Well, that's great to hear, but I wrote to the previous Taoiseach and I got a response, and I also wrote to Minister O'Gorman, the Minister of Children, and I got a response from him, but his response was a sustainability fund. We are sustainable. We need capital funding. And we are one of many groups, as I said in my email, 24 groups have identified both community and private. And I think government has a responsibility to cover both sections of the sector.
Gavin Robinson has been ratified as the new DUP leader and used his acceptance speech in Lisburn last night to confirm the party will not stand candidates in Fermanagh South Tyrone and North Down in July's general election. It follows news that Pat Cullen, the head of the Royal College of Nursing, has stepped down to run for Sinn Féin in Fermanagh South Tyrone. Letterkenny Chamber has released its local election manifesto for 2024, outlining what it describes as a strategic vision to enhance the socio-economic and environmental landscape of Letterkenny and the wider North West region. It's asking all candidates in the area to adopt the principles, as Michaela Clark now reports.
The manifesto highlights the pivotal role local authorities have played over the past 5 years, demonstrating the importance of collaboration and responsiveness. Describing the document as a catalyst for discussion and debate, Chamber President Claire McDonough stressed the need for candidates to understand pressing issues and commit themselves to seeking rapid, sustained change. She says Letterkenny Chamber encourages all potential councillors to do everything in their power to ensure that the deficits are addressed, so that together we can deliver on our shared ambitions. The manifesto is structured around three main priorities: infrastructure for the future, vibrant towns and villages, and green ambition. Chamber CEO Tony Forrester is calling on all local election candidates to embrace these priorities and work collaboratively with the business community to drive meaningful, timely and sustainable change.
TDs are seeking answers following further delays to the completion of the National Children's Hospital. The National Paediatric Hospital Development Board will today advise the Public Accounts Committee that the hospital won't meet its scheduled completion date at the end of October. Deputy Brian Stanley is chair of the Public Accounts Committee. He says it's not just the delay that the committee will be asking questions about.
The second thing we need to know is the cost. And this cost has moved upwards and upwards and upwards, starting from 0.6 of a billion. We now have 2.24 billion committed by government to this project in terms of completion and fit out. So the costs continue to rise. We need to know how far that's going to go.
Up to 100 tents used by asylum seekers have been removed from Dublin's Grand Canal in a multi-agency operation which began early this morning. It's believed 109 individuals were offered accommodation. 5 buses carrying the men left shortly before 8 o'clock and fresh barriers were erected in the area. Irish Times journalist Kitty Holland spoke to some of the men before they left.
Lack of sanitation seems to be the big thing. They can get food, but and the other issue that they do talk a lot about is not having access to laundry, having to go around in the same clothes for days and days on end. So I think I spoke to one guy from Afghanistan. I said, what are you looking forward to most? And he said a toilet and a shower.
Weather forecast: cloudy and breezy to start this morning with scattered showers brightening through the afternoon as the showers die out and sunny spells will break through. Top temperatures 12 to 15 degrees Celsius with moderate northwest winds easing later. Staying mainly dry with a mix of clear spells and some scattered cloud tonight in lowest overnight temperatures of 6 to 9 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow a day of settled and mainly dry weather. Sunshine turning hazy in the afternoon. Cloud will build across the northern part of the region. Top temperatures on Friday of 15 to 17 degrees Celsius in light northerly breezes. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Check all of today's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, have a very good morning.
The obituary notices for Thursday morning.